Hello everybody, my name is Lena and welcome to this stupidly and overly long wrap-up. I wasn't able to record a wrap-up for February basically, so I decided to include all the books I read last month in this month's wrap-up. And maybe that was a mistake. Yeah, so I decided to split my wrap-up this month into two different parts. The part where we are today is going to be all fantasy books and urban fantasy books. Well, I'm calling them urban fantasy, but they are mostly fantasy too. Well, fantasy. And my other wrap-up will contain sci-fi, thrillers, all the stuff. But yeah, let's just jump into this wrap-up, which has, let me count, it has 18 books. Yeah, let's just try to make this nice and easy. The first book that I have here is A Curse So Dark and Lonely by Bridget Cameron. I was so surprised by this book. God damn it. I wasn't expecting to like this, like at all. I'm not usually a huge fan of fantasy driven mostly by the romance, but this one was so addictive. I read this one, I don't know, in 1-2 days at tops. I thoroughly enjoyed every single character. I felt like they were more complex than the usual YA fantasy. I don't know, and it has great representation also. Yeah, I was just like so happy that I read this book, and I'm actually reading the sequel right now. But yeah, this was really good. I give this one between 4.5 stars. A Curse So Dark and Lonely is basically a retelling of The Beauty and the Beast, but with the beauty coming from our world to this fantastical world. I have here Crown of Feathers by Nikki Proud-Preda. This is another YA fantasy that I was so surprised by. When it first came out, I wasn't really interested on it. I'm not usually a really fan of books with animals because I really suffer when something happens to them. So it's not usually my first pick. I keep hearing amazing things about this book constantly, and they were so right. I enjoy main characters so much, so much, and especially Veronica's relationship with her sister. That was fantastic, and all the training that Veronica gets in this book was such a good training sequence. But yeah, I definitely have found a new favorite of mine. I won't say that it's one of my all-time favorites forever, but if you're hesitant to pick this book up, you should really do it because, oh my goodness. In Crown of Feathers, we follow two sisters. One is Veronica and the other one is Val, and they are both obsessed with becoming Phoenix Riders, and they are on this hunt for Phoenix eggs, basically. And we also follow Seb. He's also a animage like Veronica and Val, and he was kind of forced to join the army, and he's trying to hide his powers from this super cool empire that basically slaughters every single animage they find. Then I have here They Mostly Come Out at Night by Benedict Patrick. This is a super short novel, and in this, not even 200 pages, yeah, so much happened, and it kind of feels like a dark fairy tale. It has some certain kind of fabulism to it. That it was so cool. I don't know. I just love when books are set in these small villages with this kind of mystery surrounding them, and this book has monsters that are basically werewolves. I gave this book 4 stars, and the only thing that I have against it is that it's too short. I wish they were longer, and I thought that the series was over. There are all standalones. I thought there were only 4, but the author actually post on Reddit that he has the cover for the 5th book, which makes me super excited. I just really enjoyed it, and I've told you, this super dark fairy tale I enjoyed so much. In this one, we follow Lonan. He's been basically treated as an outcast in his village because he was responsible for an attack that happens years ago, and every time that he goes to sleep, he connects kind of telepathically with this prince of this realm that is in charge to protect the forest and all the villages from these super monsters. And we follow their 2 stories, and it's so good. I read the whole Percy Jackson series. Let me just hold one, okay? So, as you probably know by now, I'm a super huge fan of Percy Jackson. I love Percy Jackson even more than Harry Potter, and it was so magical to read the whole series. I couldn't stop. I started with the first one and I was just like, okay, second, then third, then fourth, and that in just like 4 days or something. But yeah, I'm so happy that I reread this. It just made my love spark again for this series because it had been so long since the last time I have read it. I love Percy. I don't know, man. And I suffer every time, but look, it's all worth it in the end. And I don't know, I'm just so happy that I actually reread the series finally. But yeah, I also continue reading and jump straight into the Heroes of Olympus. But I will tell you about that in a minute. So yeah, this is definitely still one of my favorite series. I gave all books 5 out of 5 stars. My least favorite book is still this one, The Titan's Curse. I don't know, but I have a hard time connecting with this book. The other ones, I don't know. I just love them all back to back. But with this one, even though I gave all of them 5 stars. And this is still my favorite one. I don't know why, but Rick Riordan has a way to make the 4th book of his series always so good. And I love this one. And The House of Hades. But this one, what a magnificent series. If for some reason you have been living under a rock and you don't know what the Percy Jackson series is about, you basically follow Percy Jackson when he discovers that he's actually the son of Poseidon and he's sent to this half-blood camp. I always hesitate in trying to say the word in Spanish. And from there we follow him on his adventures. And this is of course all Greek inspired and it's just so good. Then I have here The Bone Witch by Rinche Pecco. This is another YA fantasy. I pick up so many YA books on Frebuary. This wasn't as good as I thought. I had kind of a hype surrounding this book, but I gave this one between 3 and 3.5 out of 5 stars. I'm not quite sure. It will basically depend on the next books in the series. The thing that I like most of all was learning about the world. I found the world in The Bone Witch super interesting, but I don't feel like we had enough. We spent too much time in this completely unnecessary love triangle that it was certain from page 1 that it was going to happen. And the witches in this one are kind of inspired by geishas. They have to learn their magic and also politics and history and arts and dance and entertainment. And that was just such a cool touch. But the whole plot was kind of a bit of a letdown. And we continue with the series. I think that the plot has enough things to make me keep going, but I don't think that's going to be really soon. In The Bone Witch, we follow Tia. She kind of discovers that she is a bone witch by resurrecting his dead brother, and she is sent to this different town to actually become a truly bone witch. It was still definitely an enjoyable read, and yeah, I will continue. Probably. By the way, I keep pushing through the book because I've heard that the ending was just like, oh my god, the plot twist. But man, that plot twist was the most obvious plot twist that I have ever seen. More Brandon Sanderson, my friends. I read The Way of Kings back in February. And I have to say, I fucking love this series. The Stormlight Archive is just Sanderson at his best. The world building is one of the most fascinating things that I have ever seen. And the characters are so lovable and enjoyable that you need to keep reading. There's nothing else you can do. This actual book it's just like 1,000 pages long, and every single page is necessary. And that's how you make a great book. I love Kaladin so bad. His flashbacks were fantastic. You connect with him immediately. And Shallan, I love Shallan so much better in this book than in the second one, which is weird, but my favorite character is actually Dalinar. I love how he has these visions and he's such a good, normal man. I enjoyed this book immensely. If you're actually a Sanderson fan and you haven't started Stormlight Archive, because they're kind of intimidating, do it because they are fantastic. So let's talk now about Wars of Radiance. I like the Wave King more. I think that this book has a bit of a necessary triangle. Stupid love triangle. And I don't know why, but Sanderson always kind of drops some weird love triangle in his books. There's one in Mistborn, but it wasn't that bad. This one felt so necessary, and it made me not like Shallan as much as in the first one. Even though this book actually is more centered around Shallan, the first one was super more centered around Kaladin. This one expanded the world so badly, and that is one of the things of why I really enjoyed it. My only complaint is that I feel like Shallan in the present was treated a bit poorly, even though I love her flashbacks and her backstory. I knew something was up, but it was so cool, and I can't wait to read Oathbringer because I need to know more about the history of this world. Basically, to sum everything up, I gave part 1 of The Way of Kings 4.5 stars. I gave part 2 5 stars because, man, this was fantastic. Even though I don't have it with me, I gave Wars of Radiance part 1 star? No. 4 stars, and I gave part 2 5 stars because this was fucking phenomenal. But yeah, The Way of Kings is such a hard series to just explain in a couple of sentences. So in this world, we basically had this threat to humanity called the Voidbringers, and we have the Knights of Radiance defeating them. Until one day, the Knights of Radiance decide that they no longer want to protect humanity. So they abandon us and left their magical and super cool swords and armor behind for humanity to use. There's been rumors that possibly the Voidbringers are coming back, and it ended up so good. You need to read the Stormlight Archive. Then, of course, in February, I read another Wheel of Time book. This is Fires of Haven by Robert Jordan. This is book 5 in the Wheel of Time. And the only thing that I'm going to say about this book is that I refuse to believe this ending happened. It took my heart and ripped it completely. And I completely refuse to believe it. Because no. I have to say that this is probably my least favorite book of the Wheel of Time so far, because the beginning was kind of I was interested. I mean, I'm super invested in this story already, but it was kind of slow at times, and I didn't quite connect with all the characters as I did in the first ones, so I wasn't really that committed to it. But from kind of the middle part towards the end, you know something bad is going to happen. You know something is up. And you are just like, what is it? Something is up. What is it? Tell me. This just ended up in such a point that I need to read Lord of Chaos as soon as possible. Once I finish my Owls, I would just jump straight into Lord of Chaos because, man, that ending, I refuse to believe this didn't happen. This didn't happen. In the Wheel of Time, we have this world where only women can wield magic. There is this prophecy that says that this man is going to be either the savior or the destroyer of the world. That is a problem because actually when men wield magic in this world, they become kind of insane. I gave The Fires of Haven 4 out of 5 stars. Damn! In February, I also reread Sufficiently Advanced Magic by Andrew Rowe. I love it. There's nothing else I can say. I loved it the first time I read it, but now I just love it even more. It just brings so much joy to my heart every time that I read something in this world that I'm actually reading the spin-off this month. And I'm probably going to reread the second book also because the third one is not that blown away. I love Corin. He's just such a sweet main character. He's so good. He's genuinely good. And sometimes you like to read about morally great characters, but others you enjoy reading about good people. And it actually feels refreshing to find someone that is actually good. That's it. My favorite character is actually Derek. I don't know what happened, but with time I actually came to love him really badly. I don't know, and his powers are fucking amazing. But yeah, this was so weird. I love Frebuary in this. 5 out of 5 stars. Favorite series of all time. It's so good. Please read Sufficiently Advanced Magic. You have this main series, you have another series that is actually connected to this one because it happens in the same world, and you have a spin-off of that first one and this one. Do it, please. Do yourself a favor. Read Sufficiently Advanced Magic. To make a quick summary about this, we follow Corin. He's on his judgment day, meaning that he has to go into this tower and make it out alive so he can earn this attunement that will grant him magical powers. And he has to go through this because his brother went missing the day of his judgment and he's obsessed with finding him. So, this is so good. Please read it. Then, my reread for March was La Puerta Oscura, El Viajero by David Lozano. And oh man, I actually didn't remember this one being that good. I was convinced that basically the score that I gave this was basically based on my attachment to the series. But no, this was actually super good. I don't mean it like super good in a, oh yeah, 5 out of 5 stars, this book is perfect. No, I give this one 4 out of 5 stars and it was still so good. I didn't remember most of it. I keep mixing this one with the second one and I don't remember anything about the third one. So yeah, I'm definitely going to keep rereading this series. I can't right now because I can't buy book 2 and 3, but when I can, I'm 100% continuing. It's so dark for when it came out. So in this one, we follow Pascal. He is in this party when he discovers a door to basically hell, and he's tasked with becoming the traveler, meaning that he can travel between the world of the dead and the world of the living, and he has to basically help both worlds. And in this one, we spend half of the book in hell, exploring it, and man, it was good. Jules is still my favorite character, and we also have vampires on here. I mean, this book is awesome. Finally, I read 7 Blades in Black by Sam Sykes. I'm so sad that I put this off for so long because it was so incredibly fast to read. I mean, there's one thing. I wouldn't use the audiobook. It's not great. I don't know what it is, but sometimes it skips phrases or reads them wrong, which is weird. I don't know. I didn't enjoy it, so I decided to read it as a physical book, and man, Sal the Cacophony is a bad bitch, but in such a good way. I love the fact that, you know, she's just like super tough, but she's a complex character. She's not just like, ooh, look at me, I'm super tough. I will hit anyone because, ooh, look at my gun. No, she actually cares about people and she will do anything to save the people that she loves, but she's not that hard on herself if she has to kill a lot of people to do that. So that is pretty enjoyable. She's actually more of a great character. I thoroughly enjoy the kind of secondary characters in here. They were so cool, and I don't know, who doesn't like a good revenge story? I gave 7 Blades in Black 4 out of 5 stars. Simple summary to this. We follow Sal the Cacophony. She had these super cool magical powers before, but someone took them from her, and she has this list of people that she needs to kill because of revenge. And that's it. And she has this companion that is so lovable. And also, the magic system on here, super cool. Then, as I've told you before, I continue reading the Rick Riordan world and I pick up the Lost Hero, which is the first book in the Heroes of Olympus. I remember that when I read this for the first time, I was missing Percy so much that I didn't quite enjoy the book as it deserved it. So, this time I just was like, yeah, Percy's not here, but this book is also good. And it was indeed. I gave this one 4.5 out of 5 stars. I enjoy the new characters so much. They don't feel like a copy from Annabeth, Grover, and Percy. They are their own thing. Every Rick Riordan book just fills me with such joy. They are really complex books for being kind of middle grade, and they take on really kind of hard topics at times, and they do it in such a good and educational way that me as an adult, I'm just like, yeah, grief is such a bad thing. You can do it. We are back in the being genuinely good hero, which I just enjoy so much because I read so much grim dark that sometimes it's just like, please give me someone good. And that's it. No ulterior motives, nothing weird, just good. Do it for the world. If you don't know about the Rules of Olympus, it's actually a companion sequel to Percy Jackson and the Olympians. So to read this, you need to read that series first. And I left this one for the end because I have a full review about this book that you should read, because this is one of my new favorite books for all time. This was such a magnificent book. This is The Sword of Kagan by ML1, and I cried like a baby with this book. From, I don't know, page 200 until the end, I was just like sobbing because there are so many dark things about this book. It's a pretty heavy and dark book, so if you're sensitive to this kind of stuff, maybe it's not the book for you, but this was so good. I can't explain it. I'm going to link right here my full review for it. It's spoiler free, although it has minor spoilers at the end, but they are warned, so don't worry. 5 out of 5 stars, man. This is fucking fantastic. So, we're done with the fantasy. I really hope you enjoyed this video. It will be magnificent if you could click the like button and subscribe, because it helps out a ton. So yeah, I'm just going to go ahead and record the next part of this wrap up. So I will see you in the next one. Bye!